What's up, guys? It's John with National Sports Entertainment, and I wanted to go into today's games. I also wanted to recap yesterday's. Obviously, we had a rough day, which obviously is not something that we love, but it's also something that streaks are an inevitability, so, it's not something that I get, distraught over. Again, I always just try and play the long-term numbers, so we had a couple leg twos, unfortunately, push. We weren't able to close them out, the Rams and the Commanders, and the rest just lost. So we were going to have to be getting those back. And for these ones specifically, obviously, closing out sequence 120 to me is the most paramount. So tonight I went ahead and it's going to be a leg 3 because we lost leg 2 with Kansas City. I did think Kansas City was going to be really impressive at home, but they weren't. So I just thought that line was kind of high for a team that's pretty good like the Titans. So I thought a lot of the public would have been on the plus 13. But tonight, I do like the Saints money line. And again, I'm going to stick with the same logic and the same metric that kind of brought us to the dance here. While you do have traps that aren't, as we've seen more often than not, I believe the traps will win out. And I just don't see an excuse for the Saints here getting only a point. It's basically a money line game. It moved to 1.5. But even still, there's no reason for this. Now, I think it makes a lot more sense if the Saints win this game just because they play the Bucs later in the season in prime time. And I had this theory initially that Jameis Winston was going to go up against his old team. And then I kind of strayed away from it. And I do, even though he's not starting right now, I do think they're going to set that up somehow. Maybe Dalton gets, quote, injured. I'm not sure. But Brady versus Winston just makes sense to me. I've been saying it all year. And while I think Baltimore's a great team, I've also been saying I don't think they can just win the division. I do think they're going at least to the conference or AFC championship. So for that to happen, typically those teams creep in. I don't think they're going to run away with the division. I think if anything, the Bengals will win the division and the Ravens will get like a 5 seed. Something like that. But between the fact that I think it's more, the Saints need this win. The Ravens kind of need the loss to make the division more interesting, especially with the Browns. And the trap, between those 3 metrics, I do like the Saints in this game for a third leg. That's why I decided to go with them. At first, I was like, maybe we wait till Munich and just bet Brady, because that was going to be my next bet, whether he won or lost. But I do think this is a good one, and so that's going to be our third leg. Now, we have 2 second legs, and for one of them, I went ahead and, again, I'm fading the Bucs. I just don't think these guys just start. They might start 10-0, but this could be a very close game. I don't think they just cover the spread. I think they'd be 9-1 on the spread. And as you know, over the course of the season, that doesn't hold. So I think for a second leg, it is safe to fade both the Milwaukee Bucks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Just because, at the very least, I think we'll split them. And I think there's a better chance than not that we win them both. Teams just, again, they don't finish that with that kind of record against the spread. So this also looks like a trap line where, as good as Trey is, and even at home, I feel like they should be probably getting like 5 here. So that's another reason I like the Hawks plus 3. Now, the Bucks have beat traps all year, or quote traps, because they haven't really been traps because the Bucks have won. So I'm not saying it's foolproof, but I do think over time, people would just be making a lot of money on the Bucks with games like this, where I think way more are going to be taking Giannis minus the 3 here. And it's similar to the Cavaliers, who have started off very good. The Clippers have kind of been all over the place. So I like them at home here with the 4 points. I like them both as second legs. A, because of the metric fading the team that is really good against the spread. And B, because this isn't a game where people are going to be all over the Clippers. They might be all over them in other games, like they were probably with the Jazz, games like that, Rockets, or Thunder. But when they're playing a better team, people are going to be picking the team with, in my opinion, the better team. So again, because of both metrics, I like the Clippers. And you can see I'm going against my Blazers here for this Heat game. I'm taking the Heat -7. The reason for that is, and those are the only 3 games I'm playing today, just because, I only want to pick what I believe to be the best games. Here, if you're looking at it, it's kind of obvious. The Heat are not the same team as last year. The Blazers are very good, even when Dame's not playing. He is out, but Ant might play. So there's really no reason they should be 7-point underdogs. But they just play a couple tough games with Phoenix, and the Heat, in my opinion, at home here with Portland traveling, they're going to explain away why the Heat play a lot better. They'll probably explain that, especially if Ant's out, even with him in, to be honest, how the Blazers don't have a facilitator really without Lillard. They have a bunch of guys that can score on their own, but they're not really a cohesive unit. I kind of saw that narrative being pushed. They weren't even talking about it. It was just watching the Suns play, and then you saw how the Blazers were playing. It was kind of like how the Lakers play when they, how they always play. So they were just kind of showing the Blazers not looking like this machine when Dame's out. So I still think they win games without him. And I know a lot of people are going to be fading Blazers hard and taking other teams when Dame's out. That's not what I'm doing here. I just think the Heat get a win against the spread. I think they get a compelling win at home. And this is one where people are going to be all over the Blazers. And I think they can explain, see, they're 2-8. Blazers are 7-2. So they usually balance out. They can explain why the Heat are going to win this game away. So I do like the Heat here to cover 7 points, as I do the Clippers getting the 4 points, and the last one was the Bucks. I'm basically going to continuously fade the Bucks because I just don't. Teams don't go much beyond where they're at against the spread. Your best teams are going to finish about 70%. So you just can't continue at this pace, even if it is early in the season. So that's why I do like those 3 games. As I said, we have a decent bit of sequences, so I don't want to play a bunch of games and open up more sequences. I do want to close out our hanging chads, or whatever you want to call them. So we got these couple, and we'll see where they go. The one I put the most thought into is New Orleans, but I didn't want to overthink it. It just looks like an old-fashioned trap, so that's why I have them. Now, speaking of hanging chads, if you hadn't seen my 2 other videos, I'm probably going to do my 3rd one later tonight. I think it's very interesting that you can bet on this. It's right next to hockey, I believe, and it's the election. I did the gubernatorial races as well as the senatorial races. I wanted to get this sports video out first, just because I know a lot of people care more about the sports. But here in game props, we go find politics, and I went into the senatorial and gubernatorial races, and I honestly think I have personally between like 400 and 500 tied up here. So I'm looking forward to the elections. Again, I look into all possible scenarios, just like I do with sports. I think it's not much different. But if you were interested in seeing those, I did put them up, and I'm going to be putting up my house races later. Just some shifts I saw that I thought were interesting. People pulling ahead, some line flips, and some possible upsets. So I'll be going into that, and if you're able to bet on that, I think there's a lot of money to be made. As contested as 2020 was, people were still all paid out. Outside of a few states, they had to wait until like the actual date. But all the senatorial and gubernatorial races, people got paid out. So just knowing who's going to win, and I think with politics, I'm always way more accurate than that Silver dude. I'm not trying to sound cocky. I just usually am regarding how many senators are going to be for a particular party and who's going to win which state. So I'm curious. Actually, I already did the video where Silver had where he was and where the consensus was. And we'll see how much better we do than them. But I think we'll do significantly better. But yeah, I'll go into tomorrow's games, and we'll have some college coming up. And we're going to have, obviously, some more basketball tomorrow. And we'll recap tonight's game. But I also wanted to let you guys know I didn't forget about tomorrow, just because I think there's a lot of the money to be made there as well. And I was going to cover the house for anybody that was interested. So take care and happy earnings.